Hello and welcome back to the HH Gaming podcast brought to you by Hellhades.com. Once again, I am joined by co-host of the show, Paul or Saphira. And today we've got two special guests, which is Oddone Gaming and IvyLee Gaming. So welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, more than welcome. So we were just talking about the last time that we recorded the podcast was just after we went to TwitchCon. And actually, we've just come back from a rather crazy event for us, which was amazing to attend, which was your guys' wedding in Romania. So the whole HH Gaming team flew out to Romania, got to spend time with you guys as well. It would have been nice to be able to spend some more time, but I mean, it was a crazy weekend and we were obviously very limited for time in terms of the traveling to get there. But the experience as a whole was absolutely mind-blowing. But I thought it would be nice if we could share perhaps some of your story as to, how this even came together, because it's a bit of a wild ride, I guess. I don't know. Do you guys maybe want to give a little bit of a background about yourselves, how you got into Raid, and then probably we can jump into how things developed, I guess.
Ladies
yeah,
first.
sure. I guess I'll start with, I started streaming before he did, I guess. Well, I've been playing Raid longer as well.
Yeah.
I've played Raid for over 3 years. Hellhades was, of course, my first content creator that I found. Through him, I decided to join Twitch. And me and him have a similar story there. I think we both joined Twitch because Hellhades made a Twitch. Yep. So we're like, well, I guess I'm making a Twitch too. Because
exactly.
Tied
we were
everybody
just supporters, liked his content, and I mean,
he employed me, so
you had to.
If we're going down that path, maybe just Hellhades is the instigator of all things.
Yeah, he's the true mogul of the Raid community, right?
That's true. Exactly.
Yeah. So for me, I think I've been doing Twitch for almost 2 years now. I think it was Christmas COVID is when I started.
Yeah.
I had no intention of ever being a streamer. I joined Twitch just as a viewer, and I supported Hellhades from the start because that's why I joined. And then eventually I started streaming myself. I was like, why not? I'm a full-time freelancer anyway. I started streaming during COVID because it hurt business, and
it was perfect.
Why not?
Like the growth of so many people making that move into content creation during COVID was incredible. I mean, obviously, well, Hellhades had just made the decision to go full-time before COVID, but it couldn't have come at a better time in terms of, my ability to work alongside him. I was still working full-time, and then I got furloughed. And then, I ended up creating Hellhades.com with him, which then kind of catapulted us into this unreal situation where we now have, a full team of people working alongside us, and a legitimate business, which is kind of exceeding where Raid is able to take us now. But it just gives us so many opportunities. And I'll be honest, had we not had that perfect situation of the stars aligning, I guess, with COVID and things like that, obviously it was a terrible time for the entire world. But for people like us, we were kind of geared up for it, gamers have to stay inside. Feels bad,
so bad. Yeah, it feels like kind of like, not funny, but I guess I'm gonna use the word funny. It's funny how, like, people like us are gonna remember COVID times in a kind of positive way, because we're stuck, like you said, indoors, and we ended up doing this, what we love, and do it as a living. Like that's the best thing ever. Like, for example, for me, the way that I started playing Raid was through, the meme of like, oh, a Raid ad. I was watching somebody on YouTube, they had a Raid ad, and I was like, yeah, let me just try it. Started playing it for the first 3-6 months, useless. I had no idea what I was doing. I did all the mistakes that we mentioned not to do.
Yeah.
Then again, I started watching some YouTube of Hellhades. Like I said, like Ivy said, we have, similar stories. Then I joined Twitch for the first time. Like, I was around now working that day. It's like, let me see what happened. Lady H even pulled my shots back then.
Legend.
And, after that, that was like my first time on Twitch, straight up late age, pulled my shots, couldn't have been better, you know. And straight after that, basically, I was thinking, you know what, I was doing pretty fine. I was working in the UK at that time, and I was thinking to come back home and try and give this a shot, because I was always a gaming enthusiast and all that. So I kind of DM'd Hellhades on Discord, and I said, you know what, I'm trying to do this as a full time. I would like to try and do this. What do you suggest? And he was kind enough to give me some, you know, tips and tricks, or like some ideas, and, you know, 2 years later, here I am.
I think we all have a similar story with Hellhades in that sense, in the sense that, you know, my backstory was similar to yours. COVID, I was like, I always got like addicted to games back in the day, like, you know, Farmville, and like I'm in maths, I'm a math genius. So to me, it's like, how can I find like the 1% game? What's the most efficient path? And ever since I stopped playing like big time MMOs all the time, where that's the other place where you can kind of min max, I was like, oh, it's COVID. I got a lot of free time. I can play a game on the side. I can do this. I'm working from home. Started Raider, did all the same mistakes, you know, booking legendary books with epic champions and, you know, all that fun stuff. Found Hellhades, and then that's where it came from there. Now, obviously, I DM'd and was like, hey, you're doing a website. I do web development stuff. If you need a free pair of hands, blah, blah, blah. 18 months later, here we are. What a wild story.
Just signed your life away in blood, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, someone did actually say to me the other day when I was on Twitch, because obviously I've been subscribed and that to Hellhades back before I was an employee, and it's like, oh, does he make you like mandatory subscription to Twitch? And it's like, I don't really think so. No, it's not in the contract unless I've missed something somewhere.
I actually had to ask our accountant about it, because I've been subbed to Simon for like 26 months or something, but obviously we're business partners now, so it's like, is this
benefits?
Is
like
this
fraud?
kind of stuff? Should I be giving him money? I'm not 100% sure, but apparently it's fine. So
that's the money you bring in the business.
If anyone from the UK tax department's watching, I do apologize. Just tell me and I will stop.
Totally not money laundering with Twitch subs.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since it's tier 2 subs. So but no, I mean, how I started working with Hellhades was I was in his first ever live stream, and he went live, and he basically had no clue what he was doing, let's face it. And his stream was kind of a mess, and his chat was going wild, and he said, all right, I probably need a moderator. And at the time, I was actually not really paying attention to what he was saying. I was actually replying to something that somebody else had said in chat, and I just put like a smiley face, and Simon just like, oh, okay, you want to be a mod? There you go.
What?
And he
Congratulations.
just modded me.
Hilarious.
And it just so happened that I've been around Twitch since my Twitch account was made in 2012. I come from a World of Warcraft background, so I've always followed like streamers. I used to stream myself when Diablo 3 first came out. So I kind of knew how Twitch worked, and I've got a background in graphic design. So I messaged him after the stream. I was like, don't know if you actually meant to mod me, but if you want me to actually help you out setting your stream up and setting the green screens up and things like that, then just give me a shout. And, you know, we just got chatting from there. And it just so happened that it was at a time where he was just going full time, and I was basically being furloughed for a long period of time from work. So I had a lot of time to be able to help him out. And we just kind of grew the friendship from there. And yeah, as everyone knows, the rest is history, so to speak. So I think
so it seems that the timing for all four of us at least was perfect, with the COVID times and the jobs and everything.
With one man to blame, but we're not gonna boost his ego even more, because
he has enough.
He's not even here and he's getting plaudits.
I know, right?
How has he managed to swing this?
It's gone from a story about Oddone and Ivy to let's just
about how we love Hellhades.
Bow down to our overlord.
But he is the root cause of us as a couple, so it is fair. It is fair.
Well, there you go.
It's because of him. It's because of him that I started doing this, and I married the woman of my dreams. So like, I'm always gonna thank him for that. You know, there were other people obviously along the line that made me get affiliated and all that, like TM Surfer, Smiley, all the other nice people of the community. But like at the beginning, it was him. If he didn't reply to my DM back then on Discord saying like, try and do this, we wouldn't be here today. So I'm always gonna thank him for that, and I'm always gonna have Hellhades' back.
So you guys met purely through streaming?
I think. Do you want me to? I guess.
You because your story's better.
Okay.
Odd One's just like, I was simping in her chat, and
yes,
pretty much, but not really.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was very, very like outgoing and friendly, and I was really bonding with my Twitch community and bonding with my fellow content creators at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was really, really enjoying the online experience, honestly, more than real life at the moment. And my favorite days of the week were like Thursday nights. I had all my streamer friends join my streams, and we just all drank, chat shit, and just had a blast. And we barely played whatever game we were playing.
Mm-hmm.
And Odd One was just another person that randomly came in my stream and was funny. And I just really liked his banter. And that and I instantly was like, okay, I like your vibe. You're joining my private chat. And I had this like private chat that all my streamer friends plus a few Twitch viewers were part of. And then I realized he was a streamer too. So I followed him, but I didn't really pay attention. But we just randomly talked a few times here and there, shared personal stories, like kind of opened up a lot. And I didn't think much of it because I wasn't really available. I wasn't really thinking about it that way. I was like, oh, whatever. But I think he just like stuck around in my head a little bit. For some reason, I had that like little bit of a crush on him, even though I shouldn't have at the time. Yeah. And I think he was the same. Like he knew I wasn't available. I was with someone else at the time. Mm-hmm. So he was never trying to like get with me or flirt. He was just being a normal human. He was just being funny, and there wasn't any weird like he was trying to get me or anything.
Sure.
I have no idea how to flirt.
I
have no idea how to flirt. I'm the worst at that. I don't know how to do it.
That Romanian welcoming.
Yeah.
It's in my vampire blood, I guess. It just happens.
He played the charm. It's fine.
Yeah. We ended up having I was away for the weekend doing a photography event in like the middle of nowhere. And we ended up having these funny group chats and with a bunch of my other people in my private chat. And we all kind of took over Mad Capper's stream one night. It was hilarious. Awesome. It was so much fun. Awesome. And I was so drunk, so embarrassing. I really hope there's no video evidence from that night.
I'm quite sure that
if it was live.
I'm quite sure that is somewhere.
But they disappear after a while. Thank God those Twitch bots go away.
That's like Paul in the video that he put out claiming that there's no video evidence.
Oh, there's video. That's happening.
There's no video evidence of me dancing in a Romanian nightclub at 2:00 in the morning or in a wedding.
There is
false.
There is.
That is defamation. I'll have your title.
I know a guy.
It's okay. Hellhades is dancing too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that is true. Use that footage.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That was it. We just
Joel can edit it in here. So I guess then over time you guys got chatting, and then you made the crazy decision to fly across the world to meet somebody that you met in a computer game, which is I mean,
it's a long flight. That
just from my perspective, obviously, like you guys spent a lot of time together, you knew each other personally from streaming and things like that. But for you, Ivy, making that decision to get on a plane and fly, like what did your family and close friends think of you making that leap, I guess?
Well, everyone thought I was crazy for the most part, except for my closest friends, actually. Actually, my stepdad and my best friend were like, doesn't sound crazy to me. No? To me, I would have been, if anyone said that to me, I would have been like, you're nuts. Because all of my life changes I made, which included pretty much flipping my whole life upside down, getting rid of my photography business, getting rid of all the things I've invested thousands and thousands of dollars and years, 13 years of my life for.
Yeah,
I just gave it away. And was gonna go explore this relationship with him in Romania. No
pressure here. No pressure here.
None at all. Good
thing it worked out, right? I mean, that could have been awkward.
Oh God.
It was crazy, but it worked.
I mean, I can see why, because I mean, Odd One, from meeting your family and meeting you, in real life, they're so welcoming, and it's such a welcoming country. I can imagine like the nerves very quickly disappeared when you sort of touch ground and kind of got involved and and actually experience the country and the culture and things like
My
that.
parents love her more than me. My parents love her more than me. Like, I'm the second one now.
Yeah.
Like, something happens. What did you do? I'm your son. What do you mean?
Yeah, we like her more.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's your fault.
They're sick of me, 30 years. They were like, okay, we had enough of you. Let's give love to the new one.
Yeah.
I would say the car trip to where you live was probably equally as nerve-wracking as getting on the plane. It's quite a trip.
The journey back, I don't know if we've even talked to you about this, guys.
No.
So when we left the wedding, so Paul and Simon were in the front of the car.
I mean, that was a recipe for disaster to start with. Who put me in charge?
Yeah, Paul had a choice. Bear in mind that he'd been partying with, I think it was your brother or your cousin.
My brother, yeah.
Yeah, in a nightclub until like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Paul had a choice of either a route which was 19 minutes longer or one which was 19 minutes shorter. He went for the shorter one, which is fine. However, we went up and down, I want to say 3 mountains.
That's
Through
a pretty drive, though.
Yeah,
it was beautiful, but the roads were some of the most lethal roads that I've ever seen in my life.
I'm pretty sure we drove the Romanian death road.
Yeah,
because you would literally go up this mountain, and I mean it's like a steep mountain.
Yeah,
and you turn right, it's like, oh, the road is not there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a hole. And
it's just like a verge where clearly the road is gone from all the different rainfall. So you got to quickly dodge that. Whoa. Then you're dodging dogs and then sheep. And
that's not good.
Oh, it was crazy. It was.
What did you guys put on your GPS?
No idea.
The car rental service near Cluj-Napoca Airport. Now it's on the way in. We came in like, I think the 1C road, I think it's called.
We were like main roads.
On the way in, it was all right. Once we got out of like Cluj-Napoca and got onto the main road, it's pretty much like one road all the way to you guys. But on the way out, it was like the road to Narnia. It was crazy. Down.
I have no idea where you guys went.
It was.
Did you see the lion? Did you see a lion?
Yeah. It was winter was falling in, and
it was some of the craziest S-bends we've ever been on.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it was almost at one point where we're go-kart in here. It's great. When everyone's like slightly tired.
The Lady H is in the back saying, I don't feel well. This is horrendous. And but fair play to Simon, because he drove those roads really, really well. Although we were dreading another car coming the other way 90% of the journey.
It was the overtaking that was baffling us. Like, obviously.
What side did you guys drive on? Wait, what side did you guys drive on?
I mean, on those roads, there wasn't a choice. We were in the middle.
Okay.
Oh
God.
But on the main
definitely
highway,
did not take the standard route. That's for sure.
No.
We did get back to the standard route like an hour and a half into the 2-hour trip. So clearly we took like the alternative option, the scenic route, for a better word. But,
and we got to see like 90% of Romania, I think.
That's the thing. Even though we weren't in country for that long, at least we did actually see the country and the different, like, characteristics of the architecture, the houses, the changes of different things, like seeing the different types of churches and the different, basically the variation within Romania. And I mean, for people watching, if you're coming from like the UK houses are very much like carbon copy. You go through a street, they all kind of look the same. You're all like, the towns look the same. There's not in Romania, like, you can go through a town and every house is built differently. It's all unique, and it's so like it's really creative and really, really unique to actually kind of witness that and see it, and all the churches and the
churches are insane.
Architecture there.
So
insane.
Incredible. Like the inside of the church where you guys had your ceremony. I don't know if they're all like that, but
they're all like that.
That was
a lot.
Incredible.
We have great churches, not so good hospitals, but churches are. We are number one in the world, possibly.
So we turned up to the church quite a lot earlier than you guys turned up, and we didn't even know that we were in the right place.
We thought that everything was shut, and we had to knock the door and ask.
I've got video. Yeah, I've got a video of Simon going and trying all the doors to see if he could get in.
Yeah,
and then the guy gave us a tour of. He showed us around the church itself, and we spent probably about 15-20 minutes just looking around at the artwork and things like that, and around the place, and it was mind-blowing. It was something that I'd never seen before. In the UK, the churches are very bland. They're stone inside.
In the US too, they're pretty boring usually.
Yeah, But like
less color.
The attention to detail and things like that, it was just an absolutely incredible experience. So thank you for including us as a part of it, because it was amazing.
We were honored to have you guys, honestly. I was really, really happy, because at the end of the day, like, kidding, not kidding, you guys are kind of like our raid family. It's kind of, you have work colleagues if you work at, 9-to-5 jobs, and maybe you gather and get friends with them. Well, for us, it's you guys and Hellhades, and, we have the other fellow streamer Clives that joined. So it was really amazing to actually get to meet you guys. Finally.
And as I said before, everyone was so welcoming. It was just, it was so nice, because I think as well as that, what sort of particularly stood out was the attention to, I guess, respect the fact that obviously we don't speak Romanian at all. But everyone was translating stuff for us. They were including us, making an effort to attempt to get us on the dance floor. Not that I dance at all. But the things like that. It was just an absolutely incredible weekend.
That's how usually Romanians are. Sorry to interrupt. Usually, Romanians, especially in the north and Transylvania part of it, we're always trying, when somebody's there with us, we always try to be welcoming of them, give them the best we have, like best food, best drinks, whatever. We always try to make people feel welcome. That's something that's in our trait in general. Might change over the years, but that's how we are in general.
And I didn't need to eat for a week afterwards.
It was a while.
You're welcome.
Our fridge still has food from the wedding.
I bet. Yeah. I remember it got to like 11 p.m. and Simon was saying to me, he's like, we've had like 5 courses at this point. We're done with the food now. And then the cake came out. And then more food came out.
Yeah, we were debating all night. We were like, are we on 4 or 3 or 4? And it was like 5.
And you guys thought we were kidding. You thought we were kidding at the beginning.
We did. No, we did.
It's after the cake, because obviously in the UK, when you go to a UK wedding, you kind of have like the soup for starters, or like a starter course. Yeah. Then you have like a main course. Then you have like the cake or something. There's like a final course. So when we get the cake, we're like, oh, we're done now. That's it. It's like, oh no, there's another course after the cake, and then you get soup in the middle. I'm like,
that's the after party thing, that's the after party.
It kind of makes sense why there's always dancing, because you need to dance it off. I mean,
exactly.
I probably ate about 3,000 calories.
But you burned them all with all your dancing.
You burned them all. It was wonderful.
So, I mean, obviously, you guys' story is absolutely incredible. But just to segue, I guess, onto Raid itself, which is obviously the game that has brought us all together. What part of Raid and its situation right now is the thing that kind of keeps you wanting to create content, and what interests you about the game right now? I don't know who wants to go first.
Yeah, all right. I think for me, the part that I am now working with you guys for is actually the part that most people hate the most, is the part that I like the most, Hydra.
Yep.
There's nothing else to do. Once you're Endgame, it's either you care about PvP and you're always trying to make better in arena and place higher. But with Empowering and Awakening, I don't care about PvP at all anymore. Like 0 F's given. I just don't care. I might push plat if I happen to be close and feel like it in that morning, but I don't really care if I place or not anymore. Like, I was actually going to start trying, but I think the reality is, if I try, yes, I can, and I place low at least if I feel like it, but it's just not that interesting anymore. And then beyond that, once you've done Faction Wars, you've done all the Doom Tower, you've completed all the secret rooms, you can 1-key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. What's next? Hydra. So it's kind of, but for me, I mean, we're both at the point where we can 1-key Nightmare Hydra. So now it's just a matter of, I don't have anything I'm working toward new in the game. Nothing. So what am I doing? Thank God I have the test server. Sorry, guys. I wish you did too.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, she just
drops
that must be nice.
Without the test server, I don't know what I
right?
would do, because that gives me, when I have the test server access, now I have something new to play with and experiment with Hydra. So now I'm trying new teams and experimenting and trying to be better on the lower end of content, because I always think Nightmare Hydra, but not everyone can exactly hit that. So I'm trying to be better about trying teams for normal and hard Hydra. And I'm trying to do that in the test server because resources are expensive.
Oh God.
So that at least gives me some sort of play. But yeah, I mean, Hydra's kind of all I'm experimenting with at the moment, honestly. kind of bored of everything else.
Just on the test server, isn't it ironic that 3 people in this call don't have access to test server and 2 of you live together?
Must be nice.
That's an awkward conversation, right?
Must be nice.
What was this Discord message you got about the test server? Well, I can't really tell you. I don't want to keep secrets in our marriage. However, you know, if you're not even contractually obliged not to share information, you're not allowed access to it. Marriage is totally out of the question, right? I mean, that's...
I'm quite sure there's a stipulation in the contract about marriage. Like, come on. Well, she's not feeling well. Someone has to.
Well, apparently there's not for business partnerships. So
I know.
Unless you gotta marry Hellhades. You gotta marry Hellhades.
Yeah. Rachel, sorry.
We gotta
make way. Yeah, it's business, you know.
I actually asked. I'm like, oh, does that mean I was noticing some part about collabing, but that was just a general, not test server. I was like, oh, so I could collab with Oddone while I'm on the test server. She's like, no, you can't.
Like, that's just crazy to me. I mean, they clearly know you guys, are married. They sent that really cool. If anyone hasn't seen it, they did like a really cool Ultimate Death Night video. Kind of doing like a congratulations. That was really awesome of them. So they know you're married. Like, come on. Like, the game. Why is it such a big thing that you can't?
I guess the real solution is that everybody watching this video heads over to Odd One's channel, hits that subscribe button,
get it up to 8,000,
and gets him in there.
Give me test server. Solved. My silver is crying. Yeah. My silver is crying from all the testing with my own resources.
And it's all right. You're not a bad person because you don't data mine like I do. I'm a nasty person because I tell everyone the truth about everything. So
shame on you.
Shame
on you.
Shame. Let me go get that. Like, where's the little the shame kind of
the bell.
Shame.
Yeah.
I'm not walking through my street naked. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. That's I draw the line.
Come to Romania. Come to Romania.
I don't know. It'd probably be pretty cold, let alone shameful.
Well, he said that there's no video evidence. What's to say that he hasn't already done it?
Exactly.
Don't be putting ideas into this conversation that should not exist. But no, it's pretty crazy to me that like the test server is great for content creators for that. Like, as you say, you can pretty much destroy all your champions and builds and do whatever crazy stuff you want without it affecting your actual sort of real account. Because the biggest problem I have in my account at the moment is I make one change and then it's like, I might take a piece off this and then I have to go back and re-gear that. And that's just taking silver. And before I realized, I got like, for content, I've created a new champion, but now I've got 3 champions I need to go back and repair somewhere and fix, and that's at a cost of silver, and eventually you just run out of silver and time to do that, and it's really frustrating on like a non-test server, where at least on test server you can just steal everything.
That's my biggest problem, honestly, with like, I'm at the point since like Ivy said about her part about what she's focusing on. I'm at the point the same, just like her. I can beat everything in the game. I can finish plat every single week. I do it just for the sake of the Void Shard, Legendary Book, or Gems. That's it. I cannot compete with all the empowerments or the high awakenings. So basically, I beat everything what's left for me to do. I can 1-key, Nightmare Hydra, full auto, by the way.
Nice.
No Krisk.
Plug.
But yeah,
right.
But it's like, okay, now what do I have to do? It's like, obviously I'm a full-time content creator, so I have to come up with more and more content. And what does content require? Regearing, testing, and all that. And what does that use? Lots of silver. So I'm always out of silver. Doesn't matter what happens, I'm always out of silver. And if you think about it, then some CDC comes, and we're in a cluster that's like pretty big. We compete with when it's PRs. So silver goes then as well, disappears. Yeah. So that's the biggest problem, I feel like. That's why I would love have the test server. Not necessarily for the news, because news is Hellhades' thing. He usually does the best when it comes to stuff like that. But just for the sake of being able to do content without spending all of my resources just for like 2 videos, and then I have to farm another week back to get all the resources.
It's also sometimes like having the ability to, I've got an idea of how to use this champion that probably nobody else is going to think of.
Exactly.
I'd really like to try it, but now you can't because you haven't got the champion. You got to wait to pull him, and
true.
They add more champions. The chance of you getting a specific champion goes down, and it becomes more difficult to get. Like, I'd love to do some videos on like Stultus, for example, in terms of showing off how good he can be for sort of like a countering in Agreth. I don't think I've seen a Stultus Dragonbane video on Agreth. I think he's actually probably one of the most craziest solo champions for it because he can't be poisoned.
True.
But I don't have a Stultus. I don't have test save. I can't really test it.
there's always a thing, like I had lots of people like that would help me out and be like, oh yeah, I have this champion, you want to make content on it? So there's actually plenty of people. And I'm quite sure if you guys ask, they would be like, oh yeah, I have this champion, you want to jump in and make a video on it. So at least that's nice, you know, but at the same time, you don't want to kill their silver just for the sake of testing.
Exactly.
They're not going to be happy with that. So it's
always difficult because it's varying levels, like of not to be dismissive of those people, but they might only be in the mid game, which means you don't really have access to the same level of gear and stats to kind of show off your point. And you like, I try to do a comparison across my different champions. So I might do the same team with like 4 different champions as content so that it shows, oh, well, this one's better than this one, but this one's not as good as that one. You can't really do that if you're doing it on 4 different people's accounts. So there's pros and cons. I think, to be honest, if you're any sort of creator for Raid, I don't see why you can't have access to early builds, because let's face it, it's not a test server, it's a marketing server. It's a space where Playroom asks you to go and promote their new update so that people keep playing the game.
Yeah.
Better word. Yeah, otherwise, we wouldn't have Fortis as a champion, let's face it, because Fortis is an absolute travesty of a champion. It's never been tested and it's awful.
Oh, God.
They're going to give us access to the test server. That's the problem. They give us access to test server like a few days before the update goes live. So if we give them bad feedback, they don't fix it.
Oh, it's already going live. It's already going live, guys.
Yeah, it's a preview already going live.
You're already screwed. So although to be fair, I mean, I have caught bugs. They at least are fixing him. And I did catch a bug with Mighty Uko in the Head of Wrath, which I was really happy to catch, and she was appreciative of that. So every once in a while, like, we do catch bugs that we don't even notice maybe while grinding our normal accounts, but still, like, it's not we don't have enough time to test, which is supposed to be the point, like you're saying. Like, isn't that the whole point? Shouldn't we be giving them feedback about
I feel like the thing is, like, they've become a little bit better. I mean, I've only been playing the game for like 2 years, and like just the last year and a half, I've been actually involved and watching YouTubes and stuff like that. I feel like 1 year and a half, they were like so bad at receiving feedback. So I do want to give them, a good shout out that they do accept some feedback. They're not going to be perfect because at the end of the day, they're a business, but they do get feedback. Like, just like Ivy said, I had, for example, I was talking the other day with, with Banana about some bugs that I noticed myself. And she was like, genuinely interested, asking me, okay, can you test this? Can you test that? For example, with Phantom Touch. Has an interesting bug that in the Scare King, if you have Blood Shield accessory, the boss counterattacks. So it's like, it's weird stuff. So they do actually listen to feedback. They don't do it ASAP. They maybe fix it 3 months later, but at least, it's something. Yeah. It's something. There's something to do.
If you look at the bug fixes in the last patch, like, some of them are so specific that I think I saw one where it was like, if Champion X is interacting with Champion B with Champion X having a certain condition in a certain battle, I'm like, there's no way that someone in player casually came across this bug.
This had to have come from the test server.
Exactly.
Or even viewers. Like, I put a bug report into their just standard bug reports, because for me, the biggest problem not being in the content creator program is not having that direct access to sort of the community managers to say, hey, I was doing this, I found this bug, you should be aware of it. I have to go through like the Raid general Discord to report it, which means I have to fight the not so knowledgeable moderators who think they know better than I do. Not to brag, but I mean, some of the responses I had back off, they were so bad. And I basically put someone in our Discord had come in and said, hey, Suzerain Catone ability, which is meant to remove shields, says that it can't be blocked. So does that mean it removes bolster? Which is an absolute, like, spot on fair statement for someone to say. If the skill says it can't be blocked or resisted, then can I remove a shield that's protected? Because you were saying it can't be stopped. But what it actually was is a bad description, because it's just, it's not like, say, Baron's A2, where you can bypass block debuffs. It just happened to be that they said can't be blocked or resisted from ages ago, when all it really is it can't be resisted.
Yeah.
So I put that in the bug reports and they changed it. So they are listening.
We've seen a fair share of bad descriptions recently, though. Poor Mighty Uko.
Poor Mighty Uko.
Was basically at the forefront of everyone's hate at the moment because of the poor description, I guess, that was put out there. And
passive. You're talking about the passive?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think we even know how that passive actually works. I know, Paul, you put a video out.
But I still don't know
myself. I don't know if it's working as intended or anything like that. We're just, it's up in the air. Somebody at Polarium knows how that ability is supposed to work. But they're yet to tell us, I think.
I would imagine the problem pretty much is they've got like an underlying way buffs and debuffs work. And then they make a new skill, and then they go, well, the skill should just do this, but they don't actually have a deep understanding how buffs and debuffs work, maybe. And I think that's where the confusion has come from in player, and where it's almost like, well, the skill will work this way, but the buffs work in a specific way. But when you put the two of them together, you don't get what you're describing in the skill, which is why they've now updated the localization, like the text of it, to basically say, hey, if you AoE buff, I can only steal one. Even though that's, in my opinion, I don't think that's what's actually happening in terms of the coding. That is what happens in the end result. So if I have 3 increased defense, I can only ever steal one of those increased defense, because obviously I can't have the same buff twice, which is the core principle of buffs. So it's a bit of a funky passive. And I think people were like pretty critical on all of us creators, because we were pretty hype about it. I think he's still a really, really, really strong champion. Probably one of the better fusions that they've ever done. But I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's not that strong, is it? Not that crazy. I'm like, but it's like, you look at the rest of his kit. I know his A2 is a bit funky in Hydra, and we know like the Wrath bug, I didn't even know about when you were in. I was in your Twitch stream the other day, and you were like, oh yeah, I found a bug with it. I was like, really? And I can only imagine that bug is because it considers the Wrath tick counter as a buff. So therefore, if that's a buff, I can't place block buffs.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I can think of, because there are some things like that.
The thing with his kit is, like, I was thinking about it the same. I'm not the biggest arena player, but sometimes when I see some kits, I think like, oh, it could be good for arena. So I was saying that when he came out, I was saying in my streams, because I sometimes have people like Rats or some other Endgame people, and I ask them like, what do you think about this? It looks like he could be, anti-Stone Skin and at the same time anti-Swift Parry, because he puts the block buffs. Said that a few times, like 2-3 days later, people pulled and tested and was like, yeah, it doesn't work that way, only steals one and that's it. So it's kind of like, the arena use, it can still be there if it goes fast enough, but it's like thrown out of the way as being the all anti-Stone Skin. Because if you have 4 Stone Skin, it only has a chance to steal a Stone Skin. So it's like, it's not
on any buff placement, right? So it can be any existing buff. So it works really well if you have like a Duchess, Siphi with their style team, right? Because anytime a buff goes out, then you have a chance to steal that Stone Skin. And anytime if they keep buffing a target, you keep getting opportunities every time a buff is placed. But the problem is, if you just have that one buff, like if you just run a Siphi team on its own, then until Siphi does the A2 again, this pass is not going to work. And I think the other issue is you pair that alongside like Sheep, you pair it alongside like Protection Set, you pair it alongside like Lightning Cage, and all these different things. It's actually quite difficult to do your standard like Ceres buff strip now. It's very hard to do buff strips because there's so many things that can protect it. And I think that's what it comes down to is, you have a 50% chance, then you need the buff placement to initiate the 50% chance. And then after that, you need to be able to only steal like non-protected buffs. But he can steal the Stone Skin afterwards. And as if you have like an Ultimate Death Knight, for example, in a really slow build, and you keep buffing the Ultimate Death Knight, he'll eventually steal that Stone Skin. It will happen quite quickly. But I think it's a bit like Ultimate Death Knight in that sense. If you see a Rotus, you go, I'll just put Ultimate Death Knight in my team, because what can the Rotus do now? But for the general landscape, I wouldn't use Ultimate Death Knight in Arena. But if it's a Mountain King or Rotus, it's like a perfect counter. And I think that's what it is with my Tuco. If you see like a double with the Duchess Siphi team, then you probably pick Mighty Uko, just because he can do a lot of buff stripping and his passive, and he gives you increased speed as well. So, and a revive. She's not bad.
Yeah, the thing is, like I said, so it's like people are upset with him because he doesn't do that in Arena. However, I still believe he's amazing for the sake of Hydra.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't tested. I'm gonna test him out today. Like, I'm gonna try and run my usual brutal team and just put him in there instead of Siphi and see how it goes. But I'm really expecting him to do wonders. So it's like, the fusions actually this year were like better and better than ever. Honestly, like half of them were amazing. There were 2 easy skips, just like the current one. Yeah. But half of them were like extremely good. Like, I'm amazed. I was actually amazed of the fusions that they released this year.
He feels a bit like Necmo. I don't know if you think like that, because Necmo is like a double AoE. Obviously, he doesn't have the turn meter boosting per se.
Exactly.
But Necmo's real power is the fact he's an A1 decreased attack with decreased speed and everything else. He's kind of like the block buff variant with
Plus decreased accuracy shouldn't be ignored, Because if you put decreased accuracy, you can bring everybody at 200, 250 accuracy. You can resist the poisons and other stuff. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you guys, and we touched on this a little bit before we actually started recording, I guess if there was one thing that you'd like to see before the end of the year in Raid, obviously we're coming into Q4. It's the last couple of months of the year, which I have no idea where this year has even disappeared to. But we know that, as standard, Polarium tend to drop fairly big content patches, probably once a quarter. If you were to pick one thing, or one thing that you'd either expect to see or something that you'd like to see coming into the game over the next couple of months or so, what would it be?
I would say I expect to see the next head, that lightning head we see in that picture. Yeah. I don't actually want to see that. What I want to see is Ultra Nightmare Hydra.
Yeah.
I don't want the lightning head because it's hard enough trying to build a team to counteract 6 heads as it is. What if they add in a whole nother element that's not just a simple, put in block buffs and you're good? What if there's a whole nother element we now have to try to get in our teams? It's hard enough with 6 people trying to cover all the bases for the 6 heads when you're trying to do Nightmare Hydra already. That I'm actually kind of dreading the additional head coming, but I'm looking forward to the additional difficulty coming. So I would like to see Ultra Nightmare Hydra, but I'm expecting the new head.
Awesome.
I'm expecting both.
To be honest. What
they're coming together.
What I'm thinking is if they introduce a new head, if they keep the same way of having 6 heads only in the rotation and one that's out, then that's still fine. If it's 7, then it can be, it's so much worse. It's 7. It's going to be impossible. You will always need a perfect champions to cover the perfect buffs and debuffs. But I agree with her. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting them to release newer difficulty and the head at the same time, like somewhere in the next 2 months. What I would want to see, guys might call me crazy, is I want to see another Doom Tower rotation. I feel like Doom Tower, even though people hate it with the secret rooms, I feel like Doom Tower is one of the most amazing and fun contents because it gives us a lot of good resources and lots of new mechanics to play with and experiment with. Iron Twins was okay, new content, but it's Geo and you're done. Doom Tower is a little bit different. If you think about, there's still up to this day, people that still struggle with bosses like Bommel. So not Bommel, Scarab and Bommel. Yeah. But that's what I would want to see, a new Doom Tower rotation.
I think as well, Doom Tower bosses is kind of like low dev work, but high rewards in that sense, because you think making the Iron Twins is probably reasonably low dev work in the sense you're designing a single encounter, whereas Hydra, you had to design 6 different bosses, multitudes of different mechanics. So it actually gives us a lot more long-term challenge because the notion of Doom Tower being like a time sensitive thing, you might only get to that challenge at a certain point in time, whereas as soon as Iron Twins comes out, you solve it within a day, right? As soon as Hydra came out, we were like, right, how can we solve it immediately? Whereas with Doom Tower, it adds some more longevity. I would be really happy if we actually got 3 more rotations of Doom Tower with another 4 more bosses and mix it up a little bit, because you can use the existing 8 bosses we've got. I think there's 8 in the game. Add 4 more bosses to make it to 12 and make 3 more rotations using some of the old bosses and fill in 2 of the newer bosses on each rotation, building some new artifact sets, because the Forge is great for a lot of players in the game. But at the moment, I feel like it's got a little bit too much to, you farm Guardian set, you farm the Scarab set, and then you farm Dark Fae, because Bommel's not great to farm unless you've got a bomb squad, and Affinity Break is terrible, so you don't really farm that.
Geo.
Or Geo, yeah, you know what I mean.
Unless
you've
got
a really fast team, but you're not really likely to farm Bommel over Dark Fae. And then you're kind of in this position. It's really, there's only 2-3 sets.
That's why you want a new rotation. You want a new rotation with kind of maybe it's a new boss that maybe the gear set is not as good, but you have Bommel in there. Some of the Endgame people would want to farm both. When that rotation is up, they want to farm Bommel and Dark Fae, but they prefer Dark Fae because Savage is always good.
And if they change the affinity of some of them is also quite important, because Bommel being the affinity he actually disqualifies a lot of good champions that could be good for it, but you can't because the affinity is a bit of a problem. Especially some decreased accuracy affinities and stuff like that. And I can't remember, there's another affinity where it's really bad for it as well. So I agree. I think the fact that they're having a position where they think Doom Tower is almost done, I think it's actually a mistake. I'd put more bosses into Doom Tower. I'd add more variation. And I would also, for the love of God, don't add more champions into the Doom Tower secret rooms. It's already going to take me to 2025 to get Jinro the Stalk. It's going to take so long.
I just got Varlo Destroyer myself, so I'm like 3-4 behind.
I'm on Barsatha. I've just got Barsatha, so I'm now working towards that.
I'm 20 frags into Barsatha, so see you later.
Exactly. I mean, I know I've got another like 50 fragments to get Vassal, and then on top of that, 3 more champions. That's like 9 to 10 months, and I'm endgame in that sense. Whereas, like, my brother's just started playing the game. It's going to take him like 25 months to get to Jinro.
True. Unless you put an option like, okay, just get fragments and I pick what champion I do, they should just stop with the champions.
Which they don't want to do.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, if the champions they release are useless at that point. If you give somebody that's going to be... Exactly. If you release someone that's going to be, let's say, okay, that champion is going to be amazing to, make your Sorath easier. Fine. At least you give him a specific role. But those champions are just useless. You have better champions than those ones. So why would I ever use them?
Like pulling Dark Kale pretty early when you don't have an unkillable team is insane for Clan Boss because of his passive. It is so good because it guarantees as long as there's a poison on the target, you don't get crit, and it makes your sort of traditional teams much stable. But by the time you get him, he's kind of then used for I can just make my my dragon run like 10 seconds faster or something. If I have a Kaimar,
I feel like after him, that's it. After Dark Kale, everybody else is like, that's it. And the same for the...
I do like Gwyneth, though. Gwyneth and Tyre, actually, I think Tyre is very good as well. Gwyneth and Tyre.
Yeah, but don't you have all the better ones by that point? That's the whole idea.
Yeah, I actually think Gwyneth is fun just because I like, experimenting Clan Boss, but it doesn't necessarily mean I need to use her, but
exactly,
she could do a job, right? I mean, none of these champions are I need to use this champion, or when I get this champion, I can unlock something. I'm about to get Le Burger, which would be interesting to see if I can do some sort of funny speed tuning with, because she does have kind of a cool kind of thing where she puts poisons out and she has like double buffs. So maybe there could be some funky stuff. But as you say, by that point, we're on like 40-second, 50-second farms now with blessings. Does it really add enough value, especially if you're a Teodor? If you have a Teodor, the game's over.
You won. That's it.
It's just like, put a Teodor, double Calvalax, cool. Every dungeon's like whatever, which is a shame. But I agree. I think they should do like a universal Doom Tower fragment, which I just accrue until I've got all the champions, and then I can convert that into like some sort of currency that I can buy maybe soul stones with, or I can buy like glyphs with. I really think they need to start merging some of the currencies. It's like a mini campaign of mine. I want to revamp the market and have like a proper bazaar where we can get like high-end stuff rather than have
mystery
10
shards.
Shards. Yeah.
I'm just tired of seeing things like, oh, you go have 5 soul essence. Like, cool. I can buy 1/4. I could buy like the leg of my 1-star legendary champion.
Exactly.
Great. Like, just convert it, gold medals in Great Hall. I've got 10,000. What the hell do I do that with for now? I don't bother with Arena.
They're not that good at changing like really old stuff like marketplace. And
that's quite common, though.
They just introduce more. They don't change the old one, just introduce more. They could do so much more with it. Like, I remember when Hellhades released that video of like, it was a dream.
That
my God.
Screw that video.
So hyped.
Screw that
like,
video.
Oh my God.
We thought it was
Baited
real
so
for
many
the first
people.
half of
We
it.
got in so much trouble for that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that's
hilarious.
genius. Finally, Plarium. Finally, well done. Then it was a dream.
I
And
remember.
like, what's with this weird font?
Yeah, I remember when we were editing that, the original version didn't have like a fog overlay on it. And I sort of said to Simon, I was like, dude, people are going to hate you so much for this video. You need to like mess with the colors or something during the whole video, because it has to make sense at the end.
Exactly.
And we eventually went with like, if you do watch it back, the thing is, if you watch it just normally, you probably won't notice it, but if you watch it again, there's whole like
notice all of it.
Halfway through, me and Ivy, we saw like that. It was like, okay, this looks a bit foggy. I wonder.
Why is it compressed weird? Why is that font different? Would they really have put it? That looks a little cheesy. Would they really put it that way? I don't know.
Yeah.
So the problem is,
like, oh my God, F you, Hellhades. We kept saying
exactly.
The entire rest of our vacation in Turkey, we're like randomly, F you, Hellhades.
Exactly.
We randomly think of something. We were like, oh wait, that one thing's coming. Oh, never mind.
Oh wait, no. F you, Hellhades. You tricked us.
The problem is he'll record something, and because of the English humor and different things, we don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And then he'll put it there, and then he literally gets like 100 comments like saying, why did you do this?
We do sometimes need a sarcasm sign that we have to hold up.
It feels like we're in an episode of like the
Americans
Big Bang Theory. You know,
Very gullible.
Just yeah, we do. I feel like we need a sarcasm warning on like
just
the
a
title of
hashtag,
videos.
Hashtag in a corner, hashtag
Yeah,
sarcasm on, then hashtag off.
Yeah, instead of hashtag ad, it's hashtag this is sarcasm. This is a joke.
I mean, that's a warning that should come with any British person, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so awesome. Right, I think it's probably appropriate that we wrap it up there, guys. I don't want to obviously keep on to you for too long, but I do really appreciate you coming on the podcast. And again, from all of us at the team, thank you so much for including us in your special day. And it gave us an incredible experience of one, meeting you guys face to face, but as well as that, being included in a traditional wedding, which was completely different to something that any of us had experienced before, and it was awesome. So guys, if you are still watching the podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you head over to Oddone and Ivy's channels. Links will be in the descriptions below. And we will see you in another podcast very, very soon.
Bye.